The Declaration of Independence is a document that fully encapsulates the Enlightenment ideals of prominent figures such as Montesquieu, John Locke, and others. These prominent philosophers at the time influenced the writers of the Declaration of Independence to include ideas such as unalienable rights, consent of the governed, and the extremely radical and consequential claim that all men are created equal. Moreover, the Declaration included the phrase life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to substantiate their assertion that they have a fundamental right to govern themselves. Melissa Witt, a communications director at Stanford University, stated that these words formed the premises of the right to revolution. The main point of contingency is the fact that in Thomas Jefferson's time, all men did not actually mean every single person. The Continental Congress, which wrote the Declaration, was made up of mainly white male landowners. State law limited voting rights to white property-owning men, and only they could run for and hold public office. This disparity between what was promised in writing and the practical outcome in society is best illustrated by the League of Women Voters, which pointed out that even 44 years later, suffrage was limited to adult white males almost everywhere in the United States. Concurrently, most of the founding fathers, included Thomas Jefferson, were slave owners who marginalized indigenous people and Africans. Regardless, it's powerful language providing equality laid a moral foundation that later movements would invoke. Historian Jack Rakov plainly stated, with each passing generation, originally a collective claim for colonial self-government, it became a statement of individual equality that everyone and every member of a deprived group could claim for himself or herself. At the center of it all, the key truths of liberty, natural rights, and equality were prescribed universally but delivered and enforced liberally. Thomas Jefferson himself drafted a clause that would condemn the slave trade as a cruel war against human nature, but it was later deleted by Congress. With the issue of slavery remaining unaddressed, colonial America during its early stages had laws that disproportionately disseminated bias towards Anglo-Americans. As scholars note, they were heavily influenced by a long Anglo-Saxon legal tradition regarding rights that predated Christianity and was first shared among the Celts. In reality, we the people and all men of the early republic only applied to white men with property. At first, northern states such as New Jersey gave limited suffrage to women. However, all constitutions by 1820 explicitly enfranchised only men. The League of Women Voters shows that these state constitutions eliminated property requirements while at the same time categorically denying voting rights for the free men of color. By the era of Andrew Jackson, suffrage was limited to adult white males almost everywhere. Essentially, the phrase "all men are created equal" coexisted with a contradictory political system that unfairly excluded women, slaves, Native Americans, and most immigrants not of Anglo-Saxon origin. Throughout the 19th century, opponents of these exclusions repeatedly invoked the Declaration's promise. Abolitionists like Grimke's sisters, Lucretia Mott and Lucy Stone, took seriously the founders' assertion that all men are created equal, campaigning for emancipation and inviting black women to their conventions. During the Civil War and Reconstruction, the federal government began to translate the Declaration's ideals into law. The 14th Amendment states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens with equal protection under the law. In doing so, it granted civil rights to African Americans and recognized them as equal in the Constitution. Essentially, the Reconstruction era directly following the Civil War made do with the promises of the Declaration of Independence, and is described as a second founding that served as a groundwork for establishing equality in the United States. While it was monumental in bridging the racial inequality, even the 14th Amendment initially marginalized women. Section 2 explicitly mentions only the white male voting population, denying the reduction of representation for states that prevented women from voting. By placing black men above white women, this new legislation fueled deeper tensions and division amidst an ongoing fight for suffrage. Even the 15th Amendment in 1870 specifically promised voting rights regardless of race or color, but it still has no mention of no acknowledgement of women. While women were left and African Americans were still oppressed by an unfair sharecropping system and Jim Crow laws, these were small yet powerful steps in realizing the original promises of the Declaration of Independence. Women's rights activists directly challenged this inequality. In 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton famously adapted Jefferson's words in the Declaration of Sentiments at Seneca Falls, asserting that all men and women are created equal. Her words, by adapting the Declaration's logic to explicitly include women's rights, empowered leaders such as Susan B. Anthony and Sojourner Truth to cite the Declaration of Sentiments. When the 19th Amendment was finally passed in 1920, it finally put the last piece in the puzzle. Later, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 continued to expand more aspects of society to reflect Jefferson's words. Today, America continues to become more diverse than it was originally. Debates are continually discussed whether the Declaration of Independence's promises has truly been fulfilled. The new movements for LGBTQ rights, immigrant rights, and racial justice continue the journey that originated with the bold and unprecedented words, all men and women are created equal. As America celebrates its 250th anniversary, it's exciting to see how true the statement is that each generation continues to strive towards the original promises made during our country's founding that make it so special.